Hi, I'm Sophie Kirkham, and this is,
Hello. And I'm Tracy Awere.
and welcome to Friday night on HypnoBirthing Group. We're really, really pleased for you to join us. And whilst everybody's joining, this is just in the HypnoBirthing Group. So it's not anywhere else, it's just for you guys. So we are, what are we going to talk about tonight, Tracy?
So today we're going to be talking about positive mindset and what that is, why you might want to have a positive mindset as you're preparing for your baby's birth.
Mm. And as we talk about mindset, that can mean different things to different people. Um, what does it mean to you?
So I think for me, the word itself describes what it is. So if you break it down, mindset. So where is your mindset? Is your mind set and focused towards things that are negative, fearful, scary, or is your mind set and focused towards things that bring you joy, that make you feel confident, that make you feel calm? And I think that goes for anything. Obviously, our discussion today is about preparation for birth and hypnobirthing. But I think in
Mm-hmm.
any aspect of life, what is the focus of your mind? That's what mindset means to me.
Yes. Um, to me, it, it is an attitude, and it's how we perceive things, and then we then process them. And it's a huge part of all of this birth coaching. It's about being able to overcome some of the negative or intrusive thoughts that we might have surrounding birthing our babies. And then, as Tracy and I were preparing for this tonight, we noticed that there's loads of really good and useful content that can come from this, because some of you may be new to hypnobirthing, some of you may be veteran hypnobirthers. So I'm having my third baby, words that still sound very odd, because I finished having babies with my second baby. I'm having my third baby, and I teach hypnobirthing. I run this group, and I'm intrigued by how our system works, and I'm fascinated by birth. Um, and yet, I can still have some thoughts that might inhibit me to be at my best when I want to birth my kid. So I'm working on my mindset, and I've been doing this for 8 years. So I just want you to know that having negative thoughts is part of being a human being.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also that yin and yang thing, dark and light. You can't have good without the bad. Um,
I
and
think,
for
like you were saying before,
yeah,
Sophie, it's like the mind's way of checking in, because as much as you are preparing for a positive, calm birth and you want to be focused on positive and pleasant things and what you'd like to have happen, I think when our mind sends us messages, it's almost like, is there any danger here that I need to be aware of? Is there anything over there that I need to look out for?
yeah,
I guess it comes from that all-encompassing need to want to love and protect your baby, isn't it? So your mind is just doing that extra check-in, and I think it's people need to know that it's okay to have intrusive thoughts sometimes. Like you said, it's exactly part of being human,
yeah,
and knowing that you have tools available to you to help you get back on the track you want to be on. I
yeah.
think that's what we'd like to share some of
To share.
those tools today. Mm-hmm.
And in pregnancy and in labour and in parenting, in motherhood, in fatherhood, that absolutely, yeah. We all have bubbles. We all have crises of confidence. Am I doing this right? You know, and question these things. All right. So, anyone watching, we want you. This is your little call to action. We want to hear from you about what are your negative worries, your concerns, your niggling doubts. So I'm going to put that up on the screen. Yeah. What are your negative or thoughts? birthing. Okay. Ping. Apologies for typos. I'm not the queen of typos. Every Facebook post, I have to go back and edit it.
Thank goodness for editing.
Tracy, let's start with maybe the positivity that comes from being able to pause a negative thought.
So again, the positivity that comes from...
Yeah, I mean, what's the point in flipping it? Why don't we just carry on with that problematic state, that nervous tension?
Good question. So when we are worrying about something, especially sort of an anticipatory fear of something that hasn't happened yet, something that's happening in the future, we're imagining this situation going a way that we don't want, whether that's an intervention coming up or us not feeling in control, whatever that situation may be. And I'm using birth specific examples here. So what you're actually doing is getting yourself into a state of, I guess, fight or flight, feeling anxious, feeling worried. That affects the hormones that you produce in your body. I think we've probably spoken about this in the group before. You're producing more adrenaline, obviously cortisol, which is building up in your system and just building up this store of anxiety around the idea of this approaching birth. And I think when we get stuck in that sort of pattern of thinking, we're almost like modeling that again. When the day itself comes, we've told ourselves it is going to be difficult or scary, or things are going to go other than the way we want them to.
Yeah.
And it's almost, if you tell yourself something's going to hurt, I mean, chances are it will do, right? And I'm not saying it's just positive thinking, all down to positive thinking, saying, oh, it's going to be a breeze, I'm going to sneeze and the baby will come out gently. At the same time, if you focus on what you would like to have happen, you're more likely to be in a state of calm and relaxation. So essentially, when you're able to focus on a positive mindset, you're guiding your nervous system, actually. So you're guiding yourself out of the sympathetic, which is fight, flight, sort of feeling fearful and tense and anxious in your body, and more into the state of feeling calm and relaxed. And it's in that state where you can then produce more of the hormones of labour and birth. So your endorphins, your oxytocin, everything you need for your body to be able to do what it needs to do to birth with relative ease and comfort.
Yeah, so that's why I'm doing this live with Tracy. It's actually amazing. I needed to hear that. I love your take on all of this. And it's so much part of doing a hypnobirthing program, and studying and committing to it. One of the things I was talking to you about earlier was so many people say, women come, they find out hypnobirthing, I'm going to try it. Try. And that word, that three-letter word, try, is actually quite a good little saboteur. You're either going to or you're not, right? So cut out the try and focus on, instead, tell yourself, I am going to use these tools and it is going to be a positive experience for me and my baby and my birth partner. I hardly use the word try, but if I do, I definitely won't. Stop using the word.
Catch yourself. Yeah.
And that being in a state of concern and worry, or having negative thoughts, it could be useful, but what happens if you have a big wobble of confidence, or like you just said, you want to stay out of the stress state, your sympathetic state, learn all of this on a really good quality hypnobirthing program, by the way, is that your oxytocin will flow, you'll be relaxed, and your baby is relaxed too. And I'm interested in women having a positive birth experience, interested in babies having a positive start to life outside of the womb. I still think we can have wobbles. When you were birthing your son, did you have any wobbles?
Yeah, I did, because he was kind of a, I was going to say he was a surprise. He wasn't a surprise. His birthday was a surprise. So I'd gone into hospital to have just a little procedure, and then I was meant to be sent on my merry way,
Yeah,
thinking that I had about 3 weeks, and I would just, sort of waving off the midwife, saying "see you later." So I had this procedure done, and then they said, "We think he's coming today." I sort of looked at them in abject horror, and I was like, "No, he's not. They'd be ridiculous." And plus, I haven't washed his clothes, so he can't come yet. I was deadly serious. Decided that the baby could not wear clothes straight out of packaging. But he did come that day, and I think I sort of had a moment where I was, sitting in my room. Nothing much had happened yet because I wasn't in labour, but was already 2 or 3 centimeters dilated, so they wanted to keep an eye on me.
mm,
And I sat there and thought, I'm really unprepared for this because I came to hypnobirthing quite late. I was definitely 30 something weeks. He was born at 37 plus 4.
mm,
Um, so I'd been practicing, but there was still so much more that I could learn. And as I sat there, I just thought, can I actually do this?
mm.
I've been learning about breathing my baby out. Like, can I do that? So yeah, I would call that my wobble. I wasn't, terribly fearful. I was a bit more, I don't know, just a bit
Questioning
flummoxed, I
your
suppose.
ability.
Definitely.
Were
Yeah.
you? Well, I just want to say, a home birth meeting I went to yesterday with our award-winning home birth midwives in Lewisham. Brag, brag. Um, they, one of the midwives was saying, "Oh, listen, all you need for a fresh-born baby is a boob and a nappy." So
And then they're good to go.
that's good. They're going to be nice and warm. You use whatever
Yeah.
to put over them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So boob and nappy. In terms of being ready, like consciously ready,
Mm.
what would you say about being consciously ready over? This is such an interesting question. What would you say about being consciously aware of your readiness over our inherent ability to have this automatic birthing thing built in?
Mm. Well, that's an interesting one. I think, obviously, like you said, we've got automatic systems, assuming that a woman is healthy and everything is working as it should be. We've got a
Mm,
built in ability to birth our babies. It's not a mental activity. The act of birthing itself isn't mental. But obviously, like we've been talking about with mindset, if you are in this state of feeling like very nervous or I won't say nervous because everybody gets nervous, but if you're feeling particularly fearful,
mm,
then that is perhaps interfering with the natural systems that we have in place.
yeah,
But having said that, I definitely think that there's some work that can be done to help you be consciously ready. So one of the things that we've spoken about a lot, Sophie, is what would you like to have happen? So even like a mental birth rehearsal. So one of the
mm,
visualizations that I talk about loads with the couples that I work with and that I used myself that I found particularly useful is actually imagining his birth. So imagining my son's birth, what would it be like on the day? What would I like it to be like on the day? Sometimes I would visualize just holding him in my arms and us both being happy and healthy and well, which
yeah,
already assumes that we'd had a good birth. So I think as much as birth isn't done up here, um, we can still think about what we would like it to be like and focus on that rather than the what ifs, because we've got our fantastic midwives, care providers. I think they are there for the what ifs and they will work with you. And I think, especially if you have thought about how you'd like the birth to go,
mm,
even if things are going off course, veering off the course that you imagined, you're probably in a better position to talk to them about your choices and make informed choices or give informed consent, as opposed to
yes,
if you weren't at all ready because you hadn't thought about anything around what you'd like to go on that day.
yeah. Which is ultimately keeping your maintaining your focus on those fundamental preferences that a woman has about having a child. And this is probably one of my main values about why I do this work. I care very, very deeply about women understanding that they give permission
Mm.
to their caregivers to look after them in labour.
Mhm.
They give consent, to be touched, to be cared for, spoken to, have interventions, you give permission for that to happen. And in our work preparing for positive birth experience, mother and partner, birth partners, get on board. Come on, you've got to be her wingman, her wingwoman. You have to be reading from the same script. You can't bring fears. You've got to deal with it. So impassioned, I've lost my train of thought. I care that women understand about consent and permission. And once you get that, once you understand that you make the decisions around your body forever, since ever, and it's your vagina, it's your body, they're your veins, it's your child, that is just light bulbs just stop going off all over the place. So as much as, and this is going to sound trite and maybe a bit false, but it's absolutely what I think, I care that we have midwifery-led care. And I know that we have like a third of our group members in North America, and your model of care is very different. We know that midwifery is still illegal in some places in the USA and Canada.
So crazy to hear that, isn't it? Couldn't imagine that.
Burn the witches around them. We got over that. We have midwife-led care. Although you could get into the politics of how it's being diminished as an incredible expertise, whereas the Americans are obstetric-led. If you are unaware of what midwifery is, midwife-led care, and you're like OB-GYN-led care, then I would recommend that you watch a couple of things. One of them is Ricki Lake's documentary with her colleague. His name escapes me. Do you remember what she's called, Tracy?
I don't remember her colleague's name, but is it The Business of Birth? Is that?
It's The Business of Being Born.
That's it. Yeah,
so, Ricki Lake was having a baby. She wanted a natural birth, and she got induced, which is very, very, very common. Not for medical reasons, just because you've been pregnant for this amount of time. It's time to induce you now. The business of being born educates us about the money making and the medicalization of birth. So watch that one, then do a film release hypnosis. It's something you need to watch with your birth companion as well. So I think you have to pay to watch it now. You used to be able to watch it for free on YouTube. I think he charges for it now. And if you're new to me and you don't know, I'm Sophie Awere, I'm a hypnobirthing teacher. I do love birth, professional birth partner. And I love this group. I don't give stuff away for free apart from all this awesome content. So I think it's okay to pay $10 here or 20 quid there, because the stuff, the tools, what you pay for matters. So Ricki Lake's Business Being Born, and then I'm thinking Ina May Gaskin's birth story. Ina May's birth story. And actually, just to blow your minds, after Ina May, have you heard of the orgasmic birth movement?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was watching that video. I was watching that video. I think it was last week, actually. Yeah.
That's a great one. Actually, I don't think my husband's seen that yet. I have to show it to him, so I can perfectly know it.
So I was reading, it's Jean Sutton, a midwife who was talking about positioning of baby. So we were talking about spinning babies earlier, weren't we? And I think I commented on your last video saying that Jean Sutton's, I'm reading How Will I Be Born? And in there she mentions a very small section where she does mention orgasmic birth. and she talks about sort of the pressure of the baby's head. I guess it depends on the woman's physiology as well and where things are sort of placed for her. But at some points, as the baby's head is coming down, if he or she's placed in just the right position, they're sort of putting pressure on that sort of G-spot area.
Right inside your vagina. So just because I know lots of women aren't familiar with the fact that the clitoris isn't just like magic lovely button at the top of your vulva between your legs.
Mm-hmm.
It is
it's like a wishbone.
Yeah, inside around the base of your vagina, and that's why when you come, it's like everywhere. And
some information there, Sophie.
I know. Hey, do you know what? I was 36 before I ever had an orgasm.
Wow.
I'd already had it. So I had someone was 32, 33, so it took a while. And something that I like to tell people on my courses, but I sometimes forget. So this is very positive. So sometimes people are told, oh, you have a baby in your vagina this, your vulva that. Ruined. Do you know what?
Another negative birth. That's another negative story, isn't it?
It's a negative story.
Yeah.
And I actually think that our vaginas and orgasms and sex are loads better after you've had a kid. Not immediately after you've given birth, but when you're ready, whenever that is.
Yeah. And I think I don't remember if we've had anybody on before about this. So sorry, I know that we're veering off topic now, but just talking about pelvic floor health, and you can restore it. It's not. It doesn't mean that you've had a baby and maybe things are not the way they used to be, and that's it. That's your life from now on. It can be restored, and there's lots of really good trainers out there even. So I bought something called there's a company called Elvie who now actually do breast pumps, which are hands-free. But their first gadget was the Kegel trainer, and you actually it gives you ratings based on feedback. So you have activities to do. So you sort of squeeze, release, squeeze, release. I'm doing the actions with my hands because I used to actually do this as I was squeezing, because it helped me. And depending on the force it perceives from you, you're sort of watching a little ball go up and down the screen. But I highly recommend it. We're not sponsored by them or anything, but there are ways.
Something's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
How do you spell Elvie?
So it's ELVIE. And there might be some discount codes around at the time, but yeah, I definitely recommend that women check it out. I think you can actually use it in pregnancy. They will always say, obviously, check with your physician, but you can do pelvic floor exercises during pregnancy, and as long as you keep it clean, it's okay to insert that. But yes, babies are not the end of a joyful sex life.
No, and I think enhances it, which is nice.
Sensitive in different ways.
It's a really nice way to be like, well, I look forward to resuming. I mean, some people have sex really soon after giving birth. That always astonishes me. I'm like, when did you find time? Others will take and wait for the So
she'll know when she's ready, won't she?
Yeah, she will know when she's ready. Nice bit of Miltonian language there, shall we see? Right. So I hope we touched on the consent and permission thing enough. I think we need to separate webinar or live from that because it's a huge topic, and it astonishes me how women don't understand that. They just go, no, I don't consent.
Am I allowed? Yeah.
Am I allowed? Who does the allowing? I do. It's my body. An extremist, take it away. It's an absolute emergency. Do what takes. Right. I just wanted to mention something about body positive, because one of my negative thoughts has been, oh, I'm so middle-aged, I'm so old, this pregnancy's aging me, and I'm massive and heavy and fat. So those are my sort of inner bitch voices. A friend of mine has got a program going at the moment on body positivity on Channel 4, which is a UK channel, and it's called I'm
Put
going
it in
to
the
look it
comments
up.
afterwards.
And it was so good to watch, because it's just made me realise again what I preach, which is, you know, what is amazing, growing in person, going to feed this in person. It's beautiful and amazing. And yeah, it turns me off looking at Instagram a lot of the time because I'm just like, that's unrealistic. Yeah, channel 4.
It's interesting what you say there, actually, while you're looking that up about avoiding Instagram, and not just Instagram, but I think even as people are preparing for birth,
Mm.
it may suit some people to remove themselves from some or even all forms of social media because we are bombarded with these ideas or images of perfection. This is what an 8-month-old, an 8-month pregnant woman looks like, and then you're shown a model who is probably what a UK size 8 at the biggest, you know,
Mm.
still with a thigh gap. And a really neat bump, and that may well be what that woman looks like, and that may well
Yes.
be her genes, but that isn't the picture of universal pregnancy. And I think for a mother to look at that and to beat herself up about the fact that she doesn't look like that is, again, it's one of the negative influences, isn't it? Because we talk very much about negative input around birth being related to the horror stories of what it's actually like to give birth, but we do have to acknowledge the body element as well, because a mother is being born, but she's then having to shift away from, maybe not shift away from being a lover, but maybe thinking of herself differently, especially if it's a first child, thinking, will I ever be that, you know, attractive sexual being again?
Mm.
And where there's images of idealized bodies, pregnant and non-pregnant, I think that can be damaging.
Mm.
Um, so
And
yeah,
then
it may be
that
that
leads
social
into,
media is not the place.
then social media will really, um, yeah, we'll come up to some of the techniques in a minute because I'm thinking, well, how do you shield yourself?
Sure.
Yeah, I think the program is called Naked Beach.
Naked.
Naked Beach
Okay,
on
Naked Beach.
Channel 4. And
I'll have a
they
look.
take 3 people each week who can't even look at themselves in the mirror, which is really sad. You know, they just don't love their bodies, and um, they go to Greece, to this gorgeous villa, and they meet their hosts who are all very body positive, and they're naked. So you've got these 3 people who are like, I don't know where to look. They're like, oh, I'm naked. And but the hosts are wearing thongs, okay, so all the jingly jangly bits are hidden away. And the boobs have got nipple covers on, probably because it's TV. Free the
Yeah.
nipple! And they've got beautiful body art. So they've been, you know, all of them, this gorgeous, different, colourful things going on. But anyway, the program goes on. They go through a process and they buddy up with their host, and they have to look themselves in the mirror. They learn to love themselves, and then they get naked, and they go to the naked beach at the end of the week. And it's been wonderful to watch that transformation. I love before and after. I love what was then, this is now. As I love working with women who have cesarean and want to birth vaginally, it's like, well, probably be all right. So let's do it. Yeah. Oh, this not being fearful and being confident. And what happens if you have an intrusive thought, or what happens if you see something, or someone says something that just is going to heavily impact on you? Um, can I give an example? Uh, like the day I went into labour with my daughter, um, the midwife felt baby and went, "Oh, I think you need a break scan. She's a bit small." And it just came out of nowhere because I was really happy that she felt like she was growing, definitely heavier, and it threw me a bit. Um, and then I went and had another midwife who I know and trust examine me, as in not inside, to feel the baby, And actually, it was the most lovely palpation that I've ever had. It was like, wow, if I were a midwife and want to learn how to do this for you. And she went, well, she's going to be quite a small baby, but it's not a big baby. And reminding me that if I felt any change in movements or anything intuitive and it's not quite right, give us a call. And I went into labor that night and birthed my daughter the next morning. And I didn't have the scan on the Friday afternoon. And she was 7 pounds. I was a bit disappointed, I have to tell you. I thought the size I am, and my husband very tall, big backings, and I thought I'd get this lovely big fat wide 9 footers.
7.
Oh, Tracy, I seem to use a lot of my sci-fi love sort of Star Trek metaphors in my hypnobirthing. So I'll talk about being in the drop zone, launch mode, shield up. One of the techniques that I use for if I know that I'm going to have to contend with who's going to project their negative emotional state around childbirth on me, or try to, is I have absorbed like a giant sphere that only things that are useful to me and helpful and healthy can get in, and everything else ricochets back out into the universe. Sometimes I can't get my absorb on quick enough, and that's what I would do some fear release work, some confidence boosting work. And I always ask myself, what's my evidence to support that fear? What do you do? Excuse me. What do you do?
I definitely recommend that women actually acknowledge the fear, and it might be in the form of writing it down and then releasing it. So maybe write down those fears and rip them up, burn them up, whatever you want to do. But I think acknowledging, releasing, and letting go, I think, is really key, because repression is not the way. It will come to the surface. If it's something that's concerning you, it will come back to the surface. So I think acknowledging it, letting it go, and then returning to the tools that you've been using. So there'll typically be a fear release script that your hypnobirthing teacher, if you've got a teacher that you're working with, will have provided for you. So I think definitely going back to that can be really useful, because it essentially gets you back on the path in terms of you've got the confidence in you. Here are some visuals to help build that back up again, and you know that you've got it available to you anytime if you need to go back and you need to listen to it. So that's what I would say. Acknowledge the fear, release it, let it go, whether you want to write it down or whatever. And then if you've got a particular script that your hypnobirthing practitioner has given you, or the hypnobirthing program you've purchased, whatever it is, go back to that. And if you've got a technique such as Sophie, so you mentioned your Zorb, some people have something like a power ball or a cloak of protection. Whatever language works for you. I quite like the idea of the cloak, because I would go back to childhood when I used to put like a dressing gown over my head.
Yeah.
Be really cozy. I'm someone that always has a duvet over my head to sleep, even if it's, summer nights of 20 degrees. That will be me. So yeah. The
That's
idea
your
of physical
literal and metaphorical comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it can be different for all of us. In fact, that could be a really nice session to do with the group here, to explore what that could be like, just using some key language questions. So I asked you earlier, we could do this fortnightly. So both of us are parents, both of us are running our practices, working, but we're all busy, right? So we have to schedule this stuff in. And then birth dependent, family dependent, broadband dependent. Our broadband came this afternoon, it's back again now. Okay. The other thing you mentioned was journaling. What's that? What's that?
Yes. So journaling is essentially keeping a diary. And this is something obviously you can do at any stage in life, all throughout life. It's a really good way to kind of mentally like dump all the brain, the mind stuff onto the page. I do it, but I sometimes go for quite long periods of time without doing it. And recently, I think it was 2 days ago, I just wrote a whole bunch of stuff down. I had so much going on in my head. It wasn't necessarily bad stuff, but it just felt like a lot, like I needed to get it out. And I had the most amazing dreams that night, really like weightlifting, as in a weight had been lifted, not
Yeah.
dreaming of lifting weights. And I felt so fresh the next day. I felt really light. I felt really inspired. I came up with a random sort of idea related to my business that I'd never had ever before. I've got no, well, I was going to say I've got no idea where it came from. I've got a vague idea of where it came from, but there was something really cathartic about putting these thoughts down on the page.
Yes.
And like I said, I felt great in the morning, and I'd recommend that at any stage, definitely in pregnancy though. Good things and worrying things as well. Write down the good things, because then you're solidifying the happy stuff, the what you would like to have happen. The I went for, I don't know, afternoon tea with my friend and it felt amazing. I felt loved, I felt cared for, I felt nurtured. Write that down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sophie, I'm so sorry. I'm going to run and get my charger because I was very silly and didn't bring it, and my battery's low. So sorry,
right.
I'll be back in
I
a second.
shall take over. That's fine. Right. So journaling. Interestingly, I just make the screen go bigger. If you look at the wall behind, beneath my massive affirmation, trust, piece of big piece of paper, and on that is, if the birth of my baby could be how I'd like it to be, that would be like what? So I've asked myself what I'd like to happen. I've put it up on the wall, and I've also left a few spaces. I've thought about what I want. I've thought about what my son would like. I haven't really asked my husband yet, because as far as my beliefs and values go, it's the woman's decision about the role, and where she does it, how she does it, who she does it with, when all of that is the woman's decision. I don't see it as a shared decision between the woman and the partner. I don't think it's controversial. I just think she's the one doing it. She's at the very top of the hierarchy, and her partner, her baby, comes next, and then the caregivers come after that. So yes, I've got that up on the wall, and it's kind of subliminally influencing me now. Too many syllables. So I can go in and out of the kitchen from here, our dining room, and it's just there reminding me. And the trust, that's been there for years now. So that's just there.
Embedded.
It's embedded. Tracy, I need to share you back on. Ta-da! By the magic of beeline. Yeah, right. I haven't noticed anybody writing what their questions are. Beth has talked about restoring the core restore program. So that sounds like diastasis recti and pelvic floor. So I've got a client at the moment actually who's abs separated in pregnancy. When she leans forward, you can see a bulge. So after a bit of closing the bones and some really good Pilates and things would be wonderful for her.
There are really good programs now. Actually, yeah, I have diastasis recti, so there are good things out there now.
You still have, or have you got rid of
I
it?
do. Probably 2 fingers or a finger and a half. It was probably about 3 after my little one, but yeah, it's about two fingers now. So I use a program called can I say it? It's not Core Restore. It's Mutu, MUTU, which is I think short for mum tum. And it's an online program. A British lady that runs it. So if people want to know, I can share the name in the chat later. But yes, there are programs out there, because obviously we've been talking about restoring your body after birth, after pregnancy, after birth, and getting yourself back into feeling body confident and back to closer to your old self again.
Closer to your old self, you're
or maybe maybe your new self, actually. In fact, your new self, because I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was, what, 3 weeks away from having a baby. I don't know who that woman is today.
we change, we grow, we evolve. It's a big deal. I'm reading a book called What Mothers Do at the moment.
Okay. Oh,
And
use that, Brian.
I will get it and show you. Hold on. Hand over. There you go.
So for anybody that is on the group this evening, perhaps you want to put in the chat what you do to get yourself feeling calm and confident. What techniques do you use, whether hypnobirthing or otherwise? So if you want to leave some comments down below, Sophie and I will take a look at them as they come up. So you've got the book, Sophie?
I have my book. It's called What Mothers Do, and it's by Naomi Stadler. And it's, I'm reading it because I want to read stuff that takes me out of my comfort zone. I just read Sarah Wickham's books otherwise. Because I love Sarah Wickham, his research.
Right, yeah.
This is based on lots of conversations that she's had with new mothers and experiences shared. And it's a bit depressing, especially if you're in a place like the States, we have to go back to work after about 2 weeks. I've been very fortunate that I run a practice where I can be with the baby. And yet my beliefs and values around parenting are different than my neighbours and the next person. We're all different. Yeah. And I also think that the woman on the cover, whoops, looks just like Katie Hickey, the balance doula.
Right.
It looks just like her. It's uncanny. All right. So, any more? Or should we pause there?
Time's now 1:45. Maybe there's so much we could do, actually, isn't there? So we could probably, maybe if people could let us know what they'd like us to talk about next time, if there are any particular topics we could go through. But maybe, so if we could probably just end this one by talking about, maybe just explaining for those that might be quite new to hypnobirthing, what visualizations are, and even just the calm breathing and how that helps with the positive mindset. So I touched on earlier the fact that your parasympathetic nervous system is where you're producing oxytocin, endorphins, all of the lovely things that you need for birth and just to feel good in general, whether you're pregnant or not. And two of the key tools talked about in hypnobirthing, obviously, is the calm breathing. So I said earlier that you can actually help to switch your nervous system. So in breathing calmly, so that might be, there'll be lots of different patterns out there that you might learn, but just to simplify it, if we're calling it a calm breath, so a long slow breath in through the nose and then a longer slower breath out through the mouth. So with a nice soft jaw, no particular count because your lung capacity will change. If you can only manage 3 seconds, that's fine, but I would say don't even count, just a nice long slow breath out through the mouth. Really keeping it loose, the jaw nice and loose, just letting it out. Almost imagine that the air is going out in all directions. That is actually having a physiological effect on what's going on in your body. You are slowing things down. You are calming down your system. You're saying to your body, hey, this is okay. Let's just kind of melt and slow down and relax and release. That's a fantastic thing to do if you are out and about. So it's good to know that there are tools you can use even when you're not cozied up in your sofa, like, I am here now with my cat beside me. You could be about to get on a really crowded tube, and I use it in my day-to-day. About to get on a really crowded tube, you feel anxious, you feel the energy of all the people around you. Long, slow breaths. You can do it with your eyes open, and obviously you would do if you're in public. That slows you down.
I close my eyes.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. I mean, just be careful on the escalators, but
yeah.
Of course, if you're standing still, if you're seated, if you're somewhere safe, feel free, close your eyes in public. Also with the visualizations as well. So I suppose to explain what visualizations are, if you think about it as imagining, and everybody's different. I know I've spoken with women who said, I'm not very good at imagining, or I'm not very good at visualizing. But if you think of it as like remembering, if I asked you to remember a time when you blew up a balloon, for example, you could probably do that. So if you start to think about, think about things that make you feel good, that make you feel calm, make you feel relaxed. For some people, it won't actually necessarily be a visual, it might be a feeling, it might be a color rather than a scene. So, for example, I worked with a lady who really liked sort of sunset colors, so sort of orange, yellows. She would very simply sit down, do calm breathing, and picture this sunset. So, without the actual sun in the picture, but just the colors of the sunset sort of rising in the background. And for her, that was like instant relaxation. She was completely in the zone. So things like that, I think, can be really, really powerful. And again, just knowing that we can physiologically change what our body's doing, that's just an extra reminder of how powerful we are, as as human beings and as women preparing to birth. So you do have control. There are some things you can control. We can't necessarily control what will happen on the day and what the outcome will be, but we can have some control over our nervous system and the way we feel and the way we approach things.
Yeah. You get some biofeedback as you do the calm breath, as in take your pulse before you start it, and then take your pulse again when you've finished doing it for a while. I was just thinking about the way I teach a calm breath. After each breath, you count the number of the breath until you've done 10. Then you do another 10. And it's very useful for just steadying and calming yourself. And if you haven't taken your pulse, you don't know how to do that. You can feel it in your neck. Sometimes you can just sense it. You could feel it in your ribs, and you time it for 20 seconds times it with 3. That's what I do. Or you can get an app and use a torchlight on your phone, and it shines into your finger and counts your pulse that way. And our heart rate increases in pregnancy. Our baseline beats per minute actually goes up. Tracy, that's really lovely. It's always a pleasure. We don't see that often enough. So we're going to pause there. I'll upload it to YouTube. You can share it out then. And we will let you be back.
Yeah, with right. The next topic, hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Lovely. Okay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sophie.
Pleasure. Good night.
See you soon. Bye.
Finished.